Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the first one-to-one digital dialogues on July the 1. That's probably a very good timing. I'm really excited about this project. We're bringing together over the next 6 months some fairly candid, very interesting, very unique characters to join us on our screens and sort of share with us what I call a perspective, an honest perspective, a candid perspective on what we as an industry could really do better for the future. And I think this is what I call the opportunity we see, rather than just becoming focused on what's happened or what we've been facing in the last 3 or 4 months. It's now looking way ahead as to the next generation of our industry from the point of view of what we do, how we do it, and who our clients are in the future as well. That's another part of the topic later on. I'm really excited today. I'm joined by Captain Brendan O'Shannassy from his little place in Austria. How are you, Brendan?
Great, thanks, Martin. Thank you. Thank you very much for letting me join you today.
No, it's a pleasure, Brendan. We spend a lot of time talking about stuff, shooting the breeze and sharing our opinions on what's good and what's bad and what's pretty ugly. So I feel that this is a nice opportunity to do what I call a very short, punchy exchange of ideas and views on, let's say, what we can do better. And we've talked about this long and hard over the years. So I'm going to start off, Brendan, by the first question I want to ask you is tell me about your introduction to yachting, your first step on board, and the initial reaction.
Oh, Martin, look, I love this. I just sold a ship supply company in Sydney, and a childhood friend rang me, and he said, look, I know you've got a master's ticket. The opening's for a deckhand. If you can be in Monaco in 3 days, you've got the job. So I took it. On that first day when I joined and I first saw Monaco, I'd already been at sea 13 years, Navy, ocean racing, commercial shipping. Nothing had me ready. I was absolutely in awe of what I saw that day. Of course, the port was smaller then. The outer port wasn't finished. Lady Mora was in the port and it looked like it blocked out the sun. I just felt, even with that 13 years behind me, I was now taking a step up. Everyone I was about to meet was going to be the vision that I hoped I could become in Mariner. At times, this assumption was really well founded. At times, it wasn't. No, it was amazing, Martin. It was just, I'm just recollecting it. It was just wonderful. I was in awe.
And the journey's been pretty spectacular. Some pretty amazing tonnage, both in shipyards and on board. What have you seen that's basically been a concern or a frustration that you think, actually, we're not as good as we think we are?
Right. That's good. I have to pinch myself. You're right. I've been very fortunate, privileged even, to some of the tonnage I've worked on, the people I've met. Yes, frustrations, concerned. They do pale into the experiences that I've been able to have, and more importantly, that I've shared with guests. So, yeah, I've got a couple of ideas, Martin, as you well know. And I think sometimes I project my own shortcomings across to the wider industry just to try to say that I'm not alone. So everything I say is my lived experience and my truth. That's where this is my journey. Construction, yes, I've been blessed to work with some great designers and builders. Daily, I was in awe. Specifically, and it's not what you see on the full size, it's the detail, the tiny detail. Justin Redmayne explaining to me how Remy Tessier designed a drawer that drew your hands into it. That took me. The frustration, sometimes the actual operation of the platform was not considered early enough or dismissed in the name of form over function. Construction is where it matters for the future operation of the boat. Yachting is not static. It's not an Instagram photo. It's getting up every day, washing and cleaning decks, doing engineering rounds, setting and clearing tables, launching and recovering of boats. This has to be woven into our earliest stages of design, Martin. Small changes leverage into operational success and failure, and that's our real measure. So that is a frustration where you end up with galleys 4 decks from meals, tenders with a 70 millimetre clearance, 270 kilogram inflatable toys that need to be moved twice daily. This is the reality. It isn't the beauty, but it's the reality. Engineering spaces without soft patches, lifting points, or fair access. And most yachts are still hand-to-hand loading stores in and garbage out. I mean, it's 2020. We can just do better now. I think that's probably been in construction one of my biggest frustrations, Martin. A few years back, I was requested to visit a family office to review a GA and a budget. And I had no dog in this fight. I just went to see them out of goodwill. I looked at it. I wasn't allowed to take anything with me, so it was literally a live review. I'd said we were 4 to 6 crews short. There were going to be severe storage concerns, and the budget was about 30% under what I had experienced. A few years, I was thrown out. They didn't want to hear from me. Really did not want to hear it. A few years later, the crew cabins have been changed. The budget is above my estimate. Nothing I saw on that day would not have been known. We're just all afraid to tell that client. And I think that construction. So that covers off construction, Martin. You mentioned operational. I think I've got 3 key points. The first, I think, is probably my biggest concern in yachting. I think we need to move the needle to be higher guest use. We need to deliver a higher ability for guests to use the boat. The natural state should be full or near full of yachts. That's where we are. Too many yachts limp through a guest period, counting the hours until it ends to return to a natural state in port without guests. This is not how we have to do it. We have to flip that. Dare I do a parallel to cruise and passenger industry, but their resting state is near full guest capacity. Not this year. We need to move a little in that direction. I want us to stay different. I want us to be the unique industry we are, but we need to shift that. Too many times I've stood in front of guests saying, I'm sorry, or the owner, more importantly, we cannot have 4 water sports concurrent with the beach barbecue and all of the 4 bars to be manned. But this was on the Instagram photo. So they have a fair expectation to want this. I've repeated this so many times. I now walk with a folder. I call it my magic folder. And in there we'll have the deck and interior rosters to show that we just can't do it. That is not the conversation we should be having with our guests and owners. We need to, from the very start, build yachts that have had the thought to deliver everything they're capable of. Since 2007.
So, Brendan, is that because too much focus is on the look and feel and the guest space and not about the actual word service? Because everyone says 7-star service in the yacht space. It's bigger than anything else in the world. Now, I challenge that all the time when I've been on board boats. But where is the sort of the cause of the problem?
I think we're overachieving on design and fit out and underachieving on operation. They're too capable. They're absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to service. That's actually my third point, the human value of yachting. But you're exactly what you say. The second one is just keep it simple. Take Occam's razor to yachting. Do less, do it better. There's no one else standing there when this incredibly beautiful yet complex piece of machinery will not work when you're sitting in the mid-Pacific or the Indian Ocean or Cala de Volpe. Let's just keep it local. I've stood there with a fantastic engineer apologising self-consciously why a piece of equipment with more logic than a Dawkins presentation, more steps than the Opera House, will not work on that day. Let's just dial it down. And it is not an artistic endeavour. It's an endeavour of repeatability and reliability.
Yeah.
So the second one is let's just make it simple. Let's have it work every time. That from a mariner's point of view, that is what you want.
Yeah.
That's everything. Service excellence. how good are we? Through the growth of yachting and my ability to have had my own journey, my oar on that first day is greater than it was. So yachting's improved by that definition. It's incredible. But I cannot be sure if we're as good as we are, as we say we are. Why? We're not measuring it. How do we know? I have an insight through a colleague, and we spoke about the Four Seasons hotel group. They have approximately 750 performance standards, human performance standards, not SOPs.
Yeah.
That they measure.
Big difference.
Yeah, they measure and how the people must interact with their guests. This is their secret sauce. This is what they view as the value to their whole business.
Yeah.
They don't view the building. They feel this human value. The simplest example I was able to gain was their doorman. They have 14 reference points. The first one is within 10 seconds, establish eye contact. Within 30 seconds, make a greeting. This goes on. 14 touch points with a client before they reach the desk. You feel that when you're there. It's great. You feel wonderful. And they measure it. They have their mystery shoppers that come through at regular intervals. And if that doorman hasn't hit his 14 points, they'll coach him through it. They'll mentor. We need to be at that level. The beautiful Four Seasons Hong Kong has 8 Michelin stars across 3 restaurants. Their commitment was they had mystery shoppers, their inspectors, 15 times per year per restaurant. They charted their performance, where they're weak, where they're strong. Are we doing that? That's where we need to move. We need to be above them, way above. And I think there are some great trainers out there, but we need to make this a core value. I don't know if we've supported our guest-facing teams as much as we could have, Martin.
Well, I think the point is, Brendan, when you look at that subject there of training has become like a tick box or a mandatory list of things you have to get to actually work on board. Service excellence is a whole new game that we need to almost aim for. I know some companies have tried to bring it to the market, but I feel it's still not being adopted enough, because for the fees that are being paid for charters today, or the guest experience of the owner, should be in the future absolutely paramount.
It just has to be. I mean, that is everything. Everyone ashore, at sea, all of us have to be moving into this one funnel to support the culture that helps that one person.
Yeah.
Just compounding our quest for excellence is recently, because everyone's expectations have grown, which is fair, they should have, we've been having to deliver more specializations. Divers, fitness instructors, spa, hair, nurse, swim instructors, disc jockeys, on and on. Our people are not Swiss Army knives.
Yeah.
You know, and too many times I have watched the nurse, the spa attendant, the fitness trainer running to get changed, to get to their specialization. They do not do themselves, their specialization, or their guest justice. We need to lift above that.
But is this
sorry,
Brendan, is this now triggering what you call your fatigue element and the burnout and the high turnover? This is one of the things I hear all the time.
Every time that I have one of those conversations about what we can and cannot deliver, I am drawing upon the goodwill of the current crew to deal with the now, and I'm paying it forward. And it comes back. I'm drawing upon the future every time, and it comes back with higher turnover, that angst towards the guest period, which should be just pure excitement and passion. And that is because I'm drawing down on that depth every time I do it. Every time. Yes, you're right, Martin.
Yeah.
And I feel it, and I push my guys too hard.
Because we have to, because that's what's expected. Okay, so let's look at this really, really deeply. We've got 15 minutes of a very short, punchy one-to-one. What's the answer, Brendan? How do we do it?
I knew you were going to do that. Can't we just identify problems?
No.
Okay, nothing new. the most dangerous sentence we could say in any business and yachting is, this is how it's always been done. So we can't do that. We cannot, that's too dangerous. I think we need to flip it. And I mentioned once to you my Netflix analogy. Netflix is not about the platform, it's about the content.
Yeah.
Netflix, without pick your choice, Narcos, The Crown, it's nothing. It doesn't exist. Yachting is not about the static. It's about the soul. It's about the people. It is not about a picture of a yacht and Bora Bora. It gives us a great head start. It's about the ability to really get that service going. How? Everyone engaged ashore or on board must be thinking how they are contributing to that person's success, not placing a burden on them. How are you contributing to that deckhand engineer or stewardess's success? This is why we're all here. Sadly, sometimes in a client-driven environment, it is too easy just to nod and say, yes, we don't have barriers. We are the unbridled experience. We really do have barriers. And by not putting them in early, it just kicks it down the road because someone's going to put that barrier in at the very end. We need to guide I know this is not the first time this has been said. We need to guide our clients. Management are a partner. I've said recently they're my conscience ashore. I wouldn't want to go to sea without them, but I want them to buy in more heavily with that feeling and help. There's a commercial proposition, there's a commercial risk to doing this, but I think that's a tactical risk. And I think the strategic risk of not doing it is far greater. Yeah. That's kind of a cultural statement, Martin. Operationally, we have to do an operational analysis of how yachts work.
Yeah.
More so than an HVAC balancing analysis or a hydro tank analysis of the hull. How does it work?
Does it actually happen, Brendan, in your experience?
In my lived experience, I have not done this.
Okay. By
the time I've joined, and I've joined 2 incredible build projects quite early, it was too late.
Yeah.
If you've got 4 service decks and 3 service stewardesses, something's going to give. If you've got 8 tenders and 6 deck crew, 2 of which must be sleeping, something's going to give.
Yeah.
And by kicking that down the road, we're just setting our seagoing and operational teams up for failure. So that's structural. That's something we really need to look at. I want to be able to feel so confident that I'm doing the right thing by my team, doing 100 days straight with a full guest load. I shouldn't have that problem. I should not have that concern. But if I said that to any of my teams past for many years today, they'd be shaking because they knew it couldn't be done. So longevity in yachting and a better guest experience will become more from looking at this early. Size, this is tough. Our beautiful large yachts dominate the social and traditional media. And last week, a great captain on a 60-metre yacht asked me, Bren, he's got the qualifications. I've been here 5 years. I'd like that plus 100-metre experience. I said, go for it if that's what you want. But do we help our clients into the size of, that's something else. Do we do that? Have we gone too big, too fast for the industry to catch up?
Yeah.
One that is controversial for the crew, rotation. It has become the holy grail, and I believe it could be a false idol in yachting. Yes, I've raised a family and I've been on rotation since 2007. We need to return to people that want to be there and know that their why is there with service, with maritime. It shouldn't be your entry-level question is how much time I get away from this. We need to your point, mate, we want people that want to be there. The love of service and the love of providing a guest experience. That has to be their why, their inner circle of what they're doing there. Not the how, not the certificates, not the what, but the why. I gain from delivering this service. We need that. My early years in yachting were just full of dysfunctional families. We spent 11 months on board together, and I draw down on that all the time. And that's something that I think we have lost a little bit, albeit the current crew are more educated, more knowledgeable on all aspects than I ever was, but I think they're missing something there. I don't know if I'm providing tight solutions, Martin, but certainly there is something that we can do there.
Yeah, I think Brandon, what's very interesting is that there's been in the industry for the last 10 years, I'd say, there's been a lot of finger pointing as to where the problem lies. We did some research a few years ago of one of the causes of owners leaving our industry, and crew were cited, either quality or cost or turnover, all these things you've highlighted as being issues on board from a fatigue or operational standpoint. So there's something quite not connecting there. And maybe it's because the owner needs more guidance on that, let's say, analysis, operational analysis you mentioned, to say, actually, this boat needs this number of people. I hear these topics like minimum safety standards or minimum manning requirements. This word minimum is wrong, surely.
Surely. In fact, it was an FCA representative that said, in fact, it was at the Super Yacht Forum last year. Her words were, I'm hearing the term minimum. These are our baselines. These aren't your targets.
Yeah.
They have become our targets. To your point, finger pointing, absolutely. I'd say if you said to most yacht owners, what's the greatest frustration? It would come back to crew. That's because crew are the last in that chain. It hasn't been picked up before. How do you break a little bit? I think in yachting, there is a little disconnect between shore and sea. Could we, and this is, let's throw the ball as far as we can. Could we develop something where crew move forward and back? The deckhand does a year in a yacht supply company and then comes back. The purser, the next year is the accounts manager, and you'd find in their management company and then goes back to being the purser. The engineer works in the design studio. People would have to take their seashore. It's a financial, but it would give us one industry. We'd be working together.
Yeah, you're building career paths for everyone. It's not just a short-term approach. I think that's the thing I look at is like, how do we as an industry build a career path that creates this stability and this renewed passion, as it were, to say, actually, this is a great place to work on yachts, not just a 3 to 5 year opportunity. And the other thing I think is very important is this topic we just mentioned earlier on about the topic of training and development and mentoring, which is still something I think is missing in our marketplace. So there's lots of guys like you who sit up in the mountains in Austria and various other parts of the world who've got amazing things to share with the next generation, but I don't see that being formalized enough at the moment to sort of build the future teams of the next fleet of yachts, because the fleet isn't slowing down necessarily. And we need to find a lot of new people to sort of take on this tonnage. So to me, it's one of the fundamental focal points of the next 6 months to 6 years to say, how do we build the right people and the right systems in place to make sure these boats are operating optimum levels with perfection? So we don't have fatigue, we don't have burnout, we don't have tears and emotion that makes people leave the industry and go and do therapy. It's a really stressful industry because the operational stuff isn't well managed in so many places.
I couldn't agree more. And too many times in my industry, in my experience, I needed a mentor. I needed someone to speak to at the end of the day. I needed external assessment. I needed it. My team needed it.
Yeah.
And it was hard to find. We didn't have metrics to know if we were getting better. We didn't have our why defined. We didn't know why we were doing things. That, everyone loves a good sporting analogy, and you wouldn't send your sporting team out without its manager, its coach.
Yeah.
Yes, we have some great management firms, but possibly that's the person that recruited you. Possibly that's the person that has to let you go. Is that the person you're going to open up and say, I'm a bit shattered today. I just need someone to understand. Were they once an operator at all?
Yeah.
Possibly not. So I completely agree with you. I think we need to really look at how people are supported out there.
But I think also you're talking about management companies there. The stress levels in management companies are still pretty significant because of these pressures that are building all the time. So this pressure cooker situation is something we have to really address as an industry, rather than just focus on building bigger, better, more expensive, more complex projects. Get the system working so we know we're delivering that word excellence again.
Someone in the story has to learn how to say to very demanding owners, not no, but yes all the time won't deliver us the best solution.
Yeah. That's a good closing comment, actually, Brendan.
So
we almost get to the stage where we have to look at a different language for the owners' sort of conversation to say, actually, yes, we'll not deliver you the best solution.
Yeah.
And we have to be brave enough in the new world to say, this is the better way of doing it, because we've got a lot of experience and we've seen how things have gone wrong from an operational perspective. It's not just about design and build and it floating. It's that on-board element that sometimes is, as you said at the very beginning, secondary to the conversation around the actual project team table. So yeah, very interesting stuff, Brendan. Very interesting. I hope we can continue this conversation over a glass of wine, or certainly in Amsterdam at the Super Yacht Forum. So listen, really interesting stuff. And I think what I'm trying to do with these one-to-ones is keep them really short and tight, at about 30 minutes max. We are going to broadcast this to a wider audience and invite people to comment and have their say in terms of our online forums, to say if they agree, disagree, and ideally, Brendan, get you back in Amsterdam to sort of host some sort of discussion group on this, because I think this is a really fundamental focal point for the future. And I really appreciate your candor and your knowledge and your sharing of that knowledge. So thanks a million, Brendan.
Martin, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciated it.
Well, it's been a good start to the one-to-one series, and I feel that this sets a standard of how we want to talk about real stuff, be honest with ourselves, and not be afraid to say what we think. And we have about 120 people lined up over the next 6 months of really good caliber, experts, innovators, inspiring people who I think will help us build a program and some ideas that will, let's say, optimize and improve what we really do, which we all love doing. So, Brendan, thanks a million. I'll see you at the next one-to-one.
Fantastic, Martin. I'll be there.
Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye for now.